Hello and welcome to the latest episode of Weekend Winners in association with BetVictor, where we preview the Scilly Isles at Sandown as well as the Dublin Racing Festival from Leopardstown. A cracking weekend of action ahead and a cracking lineup in the studio as well. No, we haven't changed it up. Declan Rix and Sam Boswell still here. Dec, how's your week been?
Yeah, been good. Been very good. Busy as ever. Never stops in this game. But an exciting weekend ahead. I'm off to Dublin for the Dublin Racing Festival. So absolutely
back home.
Buzzing about that. Yeah, looking forward to some brilliant racing. Yeah. Rugby's on as well. Couple of pints, see me mates. Yeah, life is good.
We may not see you next week then. If all goes well or all goes badly, I'm not sure.
Yeah. You know,
Both,
new year, new me. I'm a professional.
You've been saying that for a few weeks now and we're yet to see it. But alas, we may at some point. You heading over, Sam?
Yeah, going to try and get over. And Declan's going to buy me a pint because with the proceeds of your long shot last week that went in a big price tag.
Yeah, thank you for mentioning. Yeah, Doc Pickney managed to win it.
I want a free pint out.
Yeah, Doc Pickney managed to win it 16-1 for us last week. So was probably helped by a last fence fall, I would say. But Dems the breaks, as they say. I've been on the wrong end of those plenty of times, so we'll take it.
I'm pleased that Sam keeps tabs of these because I forget from week to week what we've actually put up. So nicely done.
We must add as well, Kate, our group strike rate when we all agree on a horse. Yes. We're back over 50% now, thanks to Long Preze and Charlie Deutsch. So there we go.
Yeah, we've taken it over, haven't we?
Plenty of good news stories out of last week. Let's hope the form continues.
Definitely so, and we will crack on as well. But before we do so, a reminder as ever to please do gamble responsibly. Our tips are not guaranteed to win, but we will also do our best to point you in the right direction. Right, we begin at Sandown with the 2:35, the Grade 1 Scilly Isles Novices Chase. 5-year-olds and over 2 mile 4. Just the 4 in here, but still a fascinating contest nonetheless. Django Bay heading the way, Deck.
Yeah, just the 4 in here, but I think we'll have a good L contest. I think it'll be run at at least a fair gallop, maybe a little bit stronger. I suspect Handstands, with him having form over 3 miles, he'll push forward again. And Caliph de Burle is a horse who likes to race prominently, is a little bit exuberant, and likes to get on with things. And I'm hoping the two of those going forward together will make Django Bay's life easier for Nico de Bonneville, because as we have seen with this horse, he has been keen throughout his career. Yeah. He did make his debut, I think, over hurdles last season at Ascot, and he just looked like he was loving life. Yeah. He was ridiculously keen, and to be honest, he carted Nico around the track for quite a bit of it. But then he was headed by Tell Her the Name, and it looked like he was entitled to fall in a hole that day. But look at his attitude here, stretching. He's got an unbelievable attitude, this horse, and I think he's improved for fences as well, because how good was that debut over fences at Cheltenham the last day, beating Springwell Bay. Now, he did get weight from Springwell Bay that day, but Springwell Bay has gone on to win since, and he just looked. There were a couple of little fiddly mistakes, but I thought it was a very, very taken debut. Scope, athleticism, bravery, he had it all, and he just looks like he's a different horse this year. Look, 4-5, whether or not you want to be taking that price about a Nicky Henderson horse in soft kind of Sandown heavy ground, but I think he's the most likely winner, so we'll stick with him kicking off this week.
Yeah. It's a good point you make on the ground though, isn't it? Because of course the hurdle races were in jeopardy at one stage as well, so the chase is hopefully a bit better, but it doesn't mean it's going to be quick ground.
We might have another famous Nicky Henderson interview of a horse of his being pulled out or beaten. It's not soft, it's heavy. So we'll see how that goes.
Sandown does provide those interviews, doesn't it? Yeah, doesn't it, with Henderson there. Hopefully we won't get any sort of excuses all the same though about Django Bay for Deck. Sam, do you agree?
Yeah, I do think it's actually an okay contest for all. We've only got the 4. Caliph de Burle again, I don't want to reiterate what Deck said, but I imagine is the one to go forward here. Handstands for me, I was reading the quotes after Ben Jones won at Foss and Deck, interestingly, you referenced the fact that you think the horse could go forward. He actually sort of suggested the horse doesn't want that, but he just ended up in that position. And
yeah.
I would just worry a little bit here, just with the 4. Could he get a little bit carried away if there's a bit of a pace burn-up?
Well, I think Caliph de Burle now, the ground and the track could be an equaliser in terms of class, but Caliph de Burle, I think I had him running to 149 when he won at Cheltenham. I had Handstands running to 141. For me, he should be second favourite, definitely. And I think Django Bay I had running to 152. So, I think the market kind of suggests that, especially with Django Bay anyway. But yeah, interesting. Now, I didn't pick up on that.
I came down on the side of the favourite. I know it's not a particularly original view at 4-5, but I was just really taken with that Cheltenham fences debut. And I thought it was interesting, Nicky Henderson, after, he doesn't like to run his novices first time out at Cheltenham because he feels it is a test. So I guess you could probably upgrade the fact that he felt the horse could go there and win first time out over fences, which he did. He comes here, obviously this is always a good test of jumping, but for me I thought the 4 to 5 was fair. I don't want to take much shorter, but yeah, I wasn't too keen on Handstand's chances here.
Yeah, I agree with the pair of you two here. I know.
We're all in again.
On a 4 to 5 shot, who would have thought it?
Keep that strike rate at 100%.
Does that still count? Yeah, no, we'll claim it all the same. But I also agree in the sense that I thought that Galopin Des Champs should be second favourite over Handstands. I feel with Handstands because he's a name we all know plenty about. And I guess a trip for Galopin Des Champs might be the question mark here.
Especially in the ground at this track.
Yeah, they're the questions where I guess that's factored into the price, isn't it? But in terms of Handstands, he's a name. Everyone knows him as a smart horse. Perhaps it's more that why he is second in here over Galopin Des Champs. But yeah, Django Bay's going to take all the beating, isn't he? When I first saw these prices and I saw 4 to 5, I thought, right, it's a small runner race. He's only had the one start over fences so far. Going to Sandown now, I'll surely try and take him on at those prices. Did a full circle, came around to realising there is absolutely 0 point in that, where, as you say, Dec, he was so impressive on that chasing debut. And I hope that fences kind of make a man of him as well and get him to calm down after he was keen early on.
To be fair, I think he was a lot calmer than he was on debut last season. He's just an exuberant type, loves life, knows the Dublin Racing Festival's on this week, and just a little bit of pace and it will always help him, and especially Nico.
Yeah, and so he's just going to be another one then for me as well. 4 to 5 about him. For a horse that is rated £9 higher than Handstands as well on official ratings, and I agree with that. I agree with Rixie's ratings as well. And I know, and
just need to Tracey's trends now to double down.
Exactly, yeah. We still need to get you a little bit of alliteration for some sort of term.
I'm on Monday.
Yeah, one day. Anyway, don't need to say any more about Django Bay. We're all in agreement then with him. The traders are as well, Sam, because they are boosting Handstands in here if anyone wanted to side with him.
Yeah, not keen, clearly, on Ben Pauling's horse. So if you disagree with the three of us, which plenty of you may do, judging by the comments, we've boosted the horse out. It's a dynamic boost, so if Handstands drifts like he could do, he'd go even bigger. But yeah, boosted 11 to 4 to 100 to 30 there.
Yeah, 100 to 30. So again, head to the website or scan the QR code to take advantage of that boost. Right, that is done at Sandown. We're going to head over to Leopardstown now, crack on with the DRF racing. The 115 is the Grade 1 Nathaniel Lacey novice hurdle, 5-year-olds and over 2 mile 6. Now, Willie Mullins has the top 4 in the market here, Sam. So does it seem like he's going to have a clean sweep?
Yeah, let's be honest, this is his weekend, isn't it? It's his festival, and who can blame perhaps Gordon Henry for not throwing the kitchen sink at this one, given the strength of depth that Willie has in his yard. And Final Demand is our 7 to 4 favourite and impressive winner at Limerick last time out. Traditionally, this race, the winner, you want something that's got a fair bit of experience, which he doesn't have, interestingly enough, but the form's been significantly boosted. The second and the third have both gone on to win. Gavin Cromwell's horse probably winning a better race at Punchestown, I think, than Gordon's horse that went to Ayr and won. But both have boosted the form. For me, of those in the front sort of half of the betting, Final Demand was an absolute obvious one to play. Super Sunday for me, just not too keen on him. Jasmine DeVoe, I've been burnt there, can't jump. Maybe we'll see some significant improvement in that department, but I would want a bigger price than 6 to 1. So Final Demand for me, definitely bet worthy at 7 to 4. Wouldn't want to take much shorter, but I'll break sort of code early because I thought Mozzie Sister, my long shot, is a really interesting runner here against the million Mullins horses that we've got in the race. Declan Queenie's having a fantastic time of things, really good strike rate at the moment. This horse was beaten 4 lengths by the Great Pretender last time out at Limerick, and I think you can really upgrade that. She was just a bit sticky at a couple of her hurdles there, but she's got form in the book. She was only 5 lengths behind the Yellow Clay. That reads really well in the context of this race, I thought. And yeah, I kind of want to have a saver each way on Mozzie Sister. Final Demand will be my bet in the race, but yeah, I just wanted to highlight her chances, and good to see someone taking on Willie Mullins here.
Yeah, exactly. It takes a brave man at the DRF, doesn't it? But yeah,
with a mare as well, you know.
With a mare, exactly. Yeah, but Decky Queeley is definitely the one to do so. 12 to 1 about Mozzie's Sister, but Final Demand, though, you expect him to take the world of beating. Deck.
Yeah, look, these betting in these kind of races in Ireland now is not really my bag at the moment because, well, it's just like Willie's got the top four in the market, you know, unless you're in the kind of Mullins bubble, you don't really know what's going on with these horses. Like, the market is always going to be a good guide. You know, Danny Mullins, I thought, would have maybe been on Sounds Victorious or potentially Super Sunday. He's riding a 50-1 shot in Joystick, and I think Danny's won 2 of the more recent renewals of this race. So if he wanted a flyer in the race, maybe you can have a little few quid on Joystick at a wild price, given you would assume Danny had the third choice selection, but that's what I'm saying. Who knows? I don't know what's going on. But look, Final Demand at the head of the betting. He was brilliant at Limerick over Christmas. I think the 2 horses that he beat a long way in second and third. Both of those have come out on one since. The form looks rock solid. He is by walk in the park, and was a little bit of fizz to him that day as well. And you just never really know how a horse could that race even light him up further. Now look, I don't want to be too negative on him because he's only ever had 2 runs in his life. We don't know a lot about him. He was brilliant visually at Limerick. The form looks to be working out, but maybe just enough to temper enthusiasm at 7-4. And I never really like horses having their second ever start over hurdles in a Grade 1. I always think it's really tough. Super Sunday then, on the other hand, is a horse by Authorised, who has got plenty of good flat blood on his distaff side of his pedigree, but he's quite keen as well. And they've slapped on the old tongue tie and the hood as well, so he's going to look like Hannibal Lecter going into that parade ring on Saturday. And then the one I came down on was Sounds Victorious, but the lad of O'Keefe's is going to ride, and you know, I would have thought he would have been maybe 4th or 5th choice jockey the way things are going there. So I want to see how the market goes, but I just think Sounds Victorious is going to thrive getting back on a proper big galloping track at Leopardstown on some softer ground, going up and trip. He was beaten on hurdling debut at Punchestown, but it was good ground, wouldn't be his bag. And then he managed to win at Ferryhouse, where him and the second horse pulled miles clear of the third. But I don't think Ferryhouse was his track either. But I loved he changed his legs going to the second last. And when Towland really woke him up, he kind of woke up the beast. And I'm just hoping Willie's, you know, they tend to improve throughout the year, and I'm hoping that's going to be the case with this horse. But the jockey bookings don't suggest he is. So, you know, Sean O'Keefe is on there. Watch the market. I think, given he was 4th in the Champion Bumper last year, he's probably been a bit disappointing this season, but I think that's just because he hasn't had the stamina test. He's going to get that. If he drifts, I wouldn't surprise. Don't let that worry you.
The jockey bookings are fascinating, aren't they, for Willie Mullins? So what does Danny Mullins actually have to do? He's had an unbelievable DRS in the last 2 meetings. I love Joystick. I watched him last time out, and he makes kind of heavy weather of things, but I just get the impression he's a horse that's always going to be like that. Yeah,
well, he's probably another horse who's just wanting this trip, and he's been running over shorter. So
and any extra rain will only suit him, but we know how quick it dries out at Leopardstown, but I'd say heavy ground. But even our super sub producer, Curbs, was backing you up then with your points as well, with Dancing City winning this race last year, likewise.
Thanks,
also, Curbs has done very well in terms of the betting layout. We've got way more names than we usually have, don't we?
Oh, is that a dig at Ben?
Poor Ben on a
Not at all. But I'm sure Ben won't be tuning in to be chasing this up by any means. But credit, though, to Curbs. But my horse is still in the bar, though, all the same, though, at 25-1 in this race. Each way about Wingmen in here, where Final Demand, again, we talk about jockey bookings. You would doubt that Paul Townend and Willie Mullins have got it wrong with Final Demand, but could I be putting him up, though, 7-4 in a race like this, knowing the history of the race, the big price horses as well? I was tempted with Joystick, a lot on the Danny Mullins front as well, and also because he's just a cool horse. But Wingmen, though, for me here, because what I do want is a lot of experience in a race like this. When we're going over 2 miles 6 for novice hurdlers, I do want something that's a bit more battle hardened. Now, we know that Wingmen, he won a maiden hurdle at Navan. He made all, he won easy. Then he was second at Cheltenham, making a trip across the Irish Sea in a National Hunt Novices Hurdle, back in trip. That just didn't look to suit him over 2 mile 1. Then he was back up in trip to 2 mile 4 last time out. Third in the Grade 1 Lawless of Naas behind the Yellow Clay, who I put up, but not to toot my own horn. The reason I'm saying it, though, the reason I'm just pointing it out was because of the fact that the Yellow Clay, I thought he was the most talented horse in the lineup, and he was just being forgotten about to a large extent in that race. I don't think this horse is quite as talented, but I think that form is solid, and the Yellow Clay is a really, really talented horse. And as I say, with a bit of battle hardness, experience, the fact he's gone over to Cheltenham as well. And he doesn't exactly look like a Grade 1 winner in waiting, but he he's just a horse I thought could outrun his price, and given doubts about a lot of these jumping of Jasmine DeVoe as well, then I thought that Wingman at 25-1 was not a bad way to go. So, bit of disagreement then in that Grade 1. Do let us know in the comment section below who you fancy for the Nathaniel Lacey. As we move on to the 255 at Leopardstown, the Grade 1 Irish Arkle Novice Chase, 5 rows and over 2 mile 1. Margeborough is a hot favourite in here. Takes on stablemate Il Atlantique deck.
Yes, again, another small field, but a good race. I think it's going to be a race run at a good gallop. Touch Me Not will probably go forward with Atlantique, and Margeborough probably won't be too far away either. I just disagree with this market completely. You know, I think Margeborough should be favourite, but I definitely would have him and Il Atlantique closer together. Now, I think Margeborough's just priced up on potential, and you know it's clearly Willie Mullins loved this horse, I think, and I think that's all factored into his price, to be honest. On form, I just don't think he deserves to be that short. Now look, he's incredibly lightly raced. This is only going to be a second start over fences. You know, he could be another Sergino type and be like a machine, but I had him running to 149, beating Tully Hill last time out, and I had Il Atlantique running to 152. So on those kind of ratings alone, I'm more than happy to back Il Atlantique at the price. You know, it's only Margeborough's second ever start over fences. He didn't have any horses jumping in front of him the last day, and whilst he beat Tully Hill, who was a good horse, I don't think Tully Hill is even close to being a superstar that they thought he was going to be once upon a time. Il Atlantique is twice the horse he is. He's twice the jumper he is as well, and Il Atlantique, I wanted him, if you remember, I put him up in the show last year in the Supreme, because he looked like a really high cruising Supreme horse who kind of doesn't really gallop or doesn't really quicken. But I tell you what, he quickened up the last day at Naas, went down and gave him a proper squeeze, and I think he's just strengthened up. Last year he was quite a weak horse, but this year he just looks a better animal, and I'm more than happy to have a swing at 3-1 versus 8-13 with Margeborough. Given this is Margeborough's only second ever chase start in a race that will be run at a good gallop. Look, I could be wrong. I often am, but I'm happy to take the chance at the prices.
Yeah, every horse has its price, and 3-1 about Il Atlantique. You know, the interesting thing for me, I feel that this is going to be a real acid test for him, because meeting him in person at Cheltenham, he's a very fractious character, really on his nerves all the time. Yeah.
Well, that's not a surprise given he's by coastal path, is it?
Exactly.
And you look at Willie's horses. Willie's had all the good coastal paths, Bacardi's, Asterian Falange, Franco de Port,
Off the top of his head.
Yeah, it's like...
they're all a little bit strange.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's probably, like, there must be days down in Close Sutton there, it looks like a scene at One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, like, you know, all these headbangers just running around.
Coastal paths everywhere, just in every direction.
To be fair to him, he's actually looked probably quite straightforward out of all of them, but you've clearly seen a bit of a kink in him, though.
Yeah, so that's why I wonder, because he has looked a different proposition on his last 2 starts, but I look back on the dates of those, because I couldn't exactly remember what the atmosphere was like on those days coming through the TV, but they were on a Saturday and a Sunday, so it would have been a decent enough crowd. But I just wonder if when he gets to a big festival, a big atmosphere, if that's going to blow his mind a little bit. But like I say, it could well be the acid test. He could well have just grown up in the process. And we're going to see that from him this weekend. But that was just one of the slight doubts I had about him here. So,
well, if I see anyone at Leopardstown with a vuvuzela, they'll be getting clattered.
Get out of here. Il Atlantique then at forward deck. Sam, who do you like?
Yeah, as a Margeborough fan here, I'm going to be getting the biggest vuvuzela I can find right down at the start. I take your points, and I think you make a very fair point about the price. But if I'm just going to talk about the horse I'm most excited to see within the race, it's got to be the favourite. I'd say the jumping will improve for going this way round potentially as well. Just was a little bit out to one side. I think if we go back and look at the chase start again.
Yeah, I think he was.
That's kind of something I'm clinging to for the improvement to come going this way round. I do take your point. I don't think what he beat the first day at school was particularly exciting opposition.
And Tully Hill and Asian Master have both been beaten since, haven't they?
But the manner of the win was what's convinced me that I do buy the hype about this horse, and I just think that's what you're kind of getting excited about. That's why he's odds on. From a betting point of view, I agree, Deck, it's skinny enough, and I probably won't be playing too big bar, putting him in a few multiples for a bit of fun. I think you've got the right idea in some ways, but I still think the most likely winner is Margeborough, and I'm hopeful that he blows away a really good yardstick.
And the other thing I just want to mention quickly is I remember 10 years ago, Unda So won this race. He beat a horse called Clarkham, who is a 5-year-old. Clarkham got £10, I think, from Moon de Soa that day. They've changed the 5-year-old allowance. Marlborough's only going to get 2, so that's another tougher aspect as well for a young horse who's a 5-year-old.
That's a very good point you make, actually, about the age brackets and the weight for age scale then being moved of late as well, because I really like this angle with these juveniles from the previous season just going novice chasing for the next, rather than what more often than not feels like a wasted season in open company hurdles, because it's just something you kind of write off, really. Even the best of them haven't been able to take that jump up, rather than going over fences, getting the weight allowances as well. Why waste time? But as you say, that scale or that bandwidth has been brought closer each year as well then. But I still think Marlborough is just going to take the world a beating. And I really hope so as well, because going into the Cheltenham Festival, what a clash it's going to set up between Sir Gino, Marlborough then as well, both a pair of 5-year-olds going over fences and both looking like unbelievable talents. So he's a really straightforward horse. And again, Sam, I agree with you. We're going this way around, as he did jump ever so slightly out to his left then around Fairy House, where again, I'm hoping that this will suit him even better again.
Even though at Leopardstown, I think on the chase track, they usually tend to race right up against the far rail, don't they? So if you are a horse that jumps right, you can probably get a little bit away with it at Leopardstown.
That's a good point. You've got the rail to help you then by the general way that they come. But hopefully it won't matter anyway. It'll just be straight as a die, saving every bit of ground as well. So Marlborough for Sam and I, Il Atlantique for Dec. Right, we move on now to the big one, the 3:30 at Leopardstown, the Irish Gold Cup, of course, a Grade 1 contest. 5-year-olds and over 3 miles. Galopin Des Champs takes on Factor File for the 3rd time. Currently 1-1 between them, but Galopin Des Champs does look more comfortable over this trip, Sam, hence why he's a 1-2 shot.
Yeah, as soon as we opened betting on this race, actually we started to see people wanting to have a little nibble on Galopin Des Champs, which probably shows the profile of the horse. He's finally getting the respect he deserves. His chase record at Leopardstown's 4 from 4. This is very much a home game for him, and I think his Christmas effort, what is he, a 9-year-old now? Would you argue that he's probably hit his peak? He's hitting his peak. He is just a phenomenal animal round Leopardstown, and it's really hard to strongly make a case against him. I know he's a short price, and I know it's boring tipping up 1-2 shots, but he's a great horse. Factor File, for me, this sort of suggestion that he's going to be ridden a little bit differently would put me off backing him against the favourite. I think it's a bit of a fact find, if I'm honest, with a view to the Gold Cup, which is completely understandable. They want to obviously try and get the best out of this horse and work out how best to try and beat Galopin Des Champs, and I think it won't come here. Of the rest, I was hopeful of trying to find something against him each way. I've struggled to make a case for anything. You've got a few in here that will be looking at, you know, potentially tick over races for the Grand National in mind. I thought it was interesting, actually, Gavin Cromwell's horse has got an entry into the National, having they initially said that they wouldn't.
Ironically, we didn't know the way he was thinking.
No, and because he was actually my Gold Cup sort of thought right at the start of the season at a silly price. So
you've been spun.
If he goes and wins the National, I'll be kicking myself. But yeah, I struggle with it. If the ground was a bit drier, Hewitt would come into play potentially. But for me, I know it's a really boring suggestion, but I'll be looking at the favourite. But I reckon Rixie might have a bit of an angle into the race that I might follow.
Well, I do, but who are you with, Kate? I'm going to turn presenter here.
I was going to say, how the turntable table.
Yeah, because when the tips start going downhill, I might need a new gig. So I'm looking to branch out.
Yeah, to branch out, add to the CV, new year, new you, all of that again. Yeah, I did appreciate Sam's way of describing Factor File, though. Factor finding mission, we're going to call him for this race, aren't we? But again, not very original, where Galopin Des Champs is going to take all the beating, where the only time he gets beaten is Punchestown at the end of a season, when everyone's kind of forgotten about racing, haven't they?
And they forgive that.
And
it's Punchestown.
Yeah, exactly. Everyone does. It just comes with that little asterisk.
And Faster Slows out for the season.
Yes, exactly. That's it. So maybe he might do that this time around. But Galopin Des Champs is going to take all the beating. As you say, he probably is at his peak as well, though. He's an absolute warrior, and I do hope that he's going to win this yet again. However, the each way without Market, though, is an interesting one, without Galopin Des Champs. And Monty's Star, I know that the Henry de Bromhead yard haven't been in fantastic form of late, but we often see this with Saturday horses and the top notches. They very often don't fit in with the trend of stable form. They tend to deliver their best, rather than the horses that are just a few rungs below that. They can peak and trough in terms of their form, rather than they are pretty steady at that level. So I'm hoping Monty's Star is going to have that. And his sole start this year came at Tremor, the New Year's Day chase, and Tremor just didn't suit him whatsoever. Beaten by Embassy Gardens on that occasion. Now, Embassy Gardens, I know he just hasn't fully fulfilled the potential because he hasn't fulfilled his size and scope yet. But this year, you knew it was going to come at some point. This year might well be the year for him. An absolute monster of a horse. And he just got that uncontested lead, went clear. They couldn't get anywhere near him. And I don't think there was any sort of... there was anything wrong with Monty's Star coming off second best to him on that occasion. So horses tends to always be forgotten about Monty. So I'm going to go for him each way / the without market as well.
Yeah, well, I think that's a good way to play this race because, look, I don't think anybody near here needs us to tell us or to tell them that Galopin Des Champs is going to win. But look, I always try and plug these markets if I can.
Yes, you do like them.
Because, you know, if you take Galopin out of the equation, it is actually quite an interesting betting race. And part of that is because I think, look, the horses has a price for a reason. That's their price. That's their chance. But you know, you do wonder here, like Hewick. I still don't know why they ran him over hurdles at Christmas, instead of going back to the King George, given there was nice ground there. I know the way you're thinking. Maybe he has the National on his radar. The same with I Am Maximus. Conflated will surely be trying to get his mark down a couple of pounds for the cross country, and then Grange Clare West and Manila Cocoon aren't good enough. Then Monty Star, you know, the de Bromhead Yard. It's hard to, I think, back one of their horses now with real confidence at the moment. And I looked at, without Galopin Des Champs, it looked like a shootout between Facta File on Embassy Gardens. Obviously, it's never that straightforward. But, you know, Facta File for me is just a horse who's officially been overrated. You know, it wasn't the strongest Broadway that he won. He did win it really well. But, you know, he was absolutely put in his place by Galopin Des Champs at Leopardstown. And I know a lot of people clinged on to the fact that, he was a little bit keen, a little bit gassy. He probably did race a little bit keener as he went, but he didn't pull his chance away or anything. And I think that just probably more than anything just showed his his limitations. So I think Facta Files is only £3 or £4 better horse than Embassy Gardens, who I thought was dynamite at Tramore at Christmas. Now he beat Monty Star by 5 lengths, giving him £6. Now, I know Monty Star maybe didn't like the track and the de Bromhead horses were a little bit hit and miss, but he just looked like a different horse to me. He looked really happy, saved a bit for himself. His ears were pricked. Michael O'Sullivan, who's going to keep the ride, got a good tune out of him. And look, he's a sport and play in it without Galopin Des Champs to chase him home. I'd love plenty of rain for him just to put more emphasis on stamina and drag the stamina out of Facta File and slow him down a little bit. But look, instead of going with Galopin Des Champs, just another little way you can play the race if you wanted to get more bang for your buck.
You do like the without markets as well.
I bloody love them.
You really do.
I really do, because they just, if you take that horse out of the equation, it opens up the race as a betting chance.
Yeah, the way that racing is going, both sides of the RC, it's a good
campaign is working. We're already up on site with the without market. You'll be pleased to know for most of the races.
Well, yeah, a bit of turnover for you.
You made a very good argument, I must say. If I'm looking for a bet in the races, probably a good angle.
All right, fair enough, but if that wins, you better... Oh no, it'll be before I was going to... I don't want to see you with that vuvuzela before.
Yeah, exactly. I was saying, get the timings right. Don't just be rocking up with the vuvuzela for no reason. 10 to 11 about Fact File, the without market, and 9 to 2 about Embassy Gardens in the without market as well. So that wouldn't be too bad, would it?
Absolutely, be grand. Yeah. We can all watch Galopin bolt up and appreciate a truly top-class horse and then shout and roar like a lunatic for your horse to finish.
Exactly. Have 2 chances at roaring for some sort of a winner, all we're saying. Right, that is our preview of the Irish Gold Cup. Do let us know again in the comment section below who you fancy. Also, a reminder to like and subscribe on YouTube and also hit the bell notification so you never miss an episode. Now, of course, the DRF is over 2 days and there is plenty more top-class action on Sunday at Leopardstown. So I've challenged the lads to pick out a horse each for Sunday's racing to follow. Deck, do you want to kick us off?
Well, yeah, this was hard without the decks now, to be honest. But
that's a good point. We should mention that we don't actually have decks.
We don't have the deck, so I didn't really want to put up a bet per se because it's hard. And look, I'm just really keen to see Ballyburn up and trip again on Sunday. And look, I know he was beaten last time out by Sargino and he was beaten stiff, but the time and the sections of that race with what the Wayward lad did earlier on the card, or was it later in the card, I can't remember, were very good. Sargino looks a 5-year-old right out of the top drawer. But the reason I'm looking forward to seeing this lad up and triple, when he won the Gallagher last year, it was the same day Langer Dan won the Coral Cup over the same course and distance, and the time absolutely mullered mullered what Langer Dan did, and he went on to compete in Grade 1 company really well later. Now, a lot of that has got to do with how the races were run. This race, the Ballyburn's race, was run at a stronger gallop, but it was an unbelievable performance, and that was on ground soft, probably closer to heavy, if everything, 2 miles 5 around Cheltenham. That alone suggests he wants a trip, but then you look at his pedigree. He's by Flemingsford out of an old Vic mare. It just screams potential Gold Cup horse. Now, you can see why they went down the Arkle route, because he is still a little bit gassy. Another horse who just loves life. He's like, he just loves life. He just, let me at him, Paul. Let me run at these fences as hard as I can, like a bit of a goon. But, you know, I'm hoping now he's getting a little bit older. Little bit wiser. He'll calm down. But I'm just looking forward to going up and trip. His jumping has been okay. I don't think it's been as bad as some people have said. You know, he does go a little bit left, but he'd be going a stride shorter. He's also got quite a significant knee action on his near 4. I think getting back on softer ground is going to suit as well. So I'm hoping he will make himself heavy favourite for the Brown Advisory after a good display on Sunday.
I always have to think near 4. No matter how many years of horses, I always have to think off 4, near 4, hind. Got you.
So I just think everything about Kempton basically didn't suit him. Ground was a little bit quick, flat track, up against a potential monster in the making, and I thought he still ran well. He did try and take the last fence home with him, to be fair, but I thought he did well to find the leg, and I suspected that you know, Paul Townend was just gearing down. They probably got a little bit lackadaisical, but he found a leg, which I always like.
It's just him, isn't it? He's just ignorant.
Yeah,
he is so ignorant.
He is ignorant.
To breaks or to fences or anything, but he is a very talented horse.
To be fair to him, he does have a little bit of intelligence, kind of quick feet about him. So, as Mick Fitzgerald said, a little bit of Fred Astaire dancing at the boards. He can do it. He just needs to channel his energy a little bit better. Yeah,
you're going with the enthusiastic horses this weekend then. Ballyburn at 4 Dex.
As they all pull their brains out and finish tailed off on the day. Yeah, it's going to be great.
We'll wait to see on that front. Sam, who caught your eye?
Well, if we go back a couple of weeks, Deck, you gave State Man a bit of a mention, didn't you, in terms of the champion hurdle picture? Am I right in thinking?
Yeah, I think our first anti-post kind of segment of the year, I put up State Man each way for the champion hurdle.
I think it's a great bet. The more I look at what's going on in that market, obviously brighter days ahead, we still don't know where she's going to end up, and obviously State Man potentially faces Lossiemouth, and I think this is a real opportunity for redemption for State Man, because I know people will point to those 2 runs this season and be disappointed with both, but I think what Brighter Days Ahead did, obviously with King of Kingsfield in the race as well, it was set up perfectly. I'm not taking anything away from the mare, because she was fantastic, and hopefully we see her in the champion. But State Man, he is a classy animal, and up against Lossiemouth, you're going to get something that will make the market should both run. Obviously, the decision of who Paul Townend rides is another angle into it as well, which is fascinating.
Are both definitely going to run?
We've got 40 minutes until we know.
Because I know if Ruby Walsh was still riding, the 2 of them wouldn't be running.
No, but we shall see, and that's the intrigue. But for me, I just thought I was really interested. I really hope she does run, because it will give State Man some proper competition and a proper opportunity for us to assess whether he is back to his best. You know, they were so confident that he was going to go well last time out, and I think they were a little bit surprised by just what the mare did. But I thought he was just one of many intriguing runners on the card on Sunday.
If you were Paul Townend, who would you ride?
State Man, because I'd need him to.
But you couldn't say Lossiemouth after that.
No, imagine actually if he did.
Lossiemouth,
listen, I appreciate there's a lot of politics in the sport, and you know you don't want to upset any owners, but I think he'll stick with State Man.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
40 minutes time, we'll find out I'm very wrong.
39 minutes time, then we will find out.
The Sky countdown clock here. It's like transfer deadline day.
Isn't it just? It's so similar. The race that took my eye, though, is the Dublin Chase, the Grade 1 contest, where we know that Gaelic Warrior, he's going to be a very short price favourite. I just wonder about him. I feel really bad, because I'm constantly taking on Gaelic Warrior, and I really like him as a horse, but I just wonder about him around Leopardstown. I know he won that handicap hurdle a couple of years ago in 2023 before going on to the festival, but last year he was terrible until he unseated in that 2-runner Grade 1 Novices Chase. Then he was beaten again at Leopardstown as favourite in the Grade 1 Chase over Christmas, beaten by Solness. Solness isn't going to be the price now that he was then, and they're not exactly going to leave him alone on the front end as they did over Christmas. So I still didn't want to overlook Solness. If I can get about sort of 9 to 1 then for an each way play still about him. I think that that is very fair. Where, again, he was given a really canny ride on that most recent start, despite making the mistake at the third last, where you thought, OK, he's just going to go on and be reeled in at this point. But he wasn't. He kicked on again then. Won well. He has a lot of chasing experience as well. He has 6 runs to his name. So he can't be discounted just because of the flashy profile of others in here. And at the prices, I will have him for all that. He's not going to have that man on board, though, is he? Of course, of his new job in El Fabiolo. So he's going to have a different pilot on board. But Solness still not one I wanted to overlook by any means. But we have got 37 minutes until we find out the declarations then for Sunday of Leopardstown. So until then, the 3 of us will head over to the sofa to give you our best bets for this weekend. Now, before we get into our best bets of the weekend, the traders have got a further boost for us to enjoy. We saw handstands earlier on, 11-4 to 100-30, but Martator, Sam, is another boost.
Yeah, when the mud's flying, usually you want to back Benicia Williams horses, but the traders seem to think they can get this one beat 16-5 from 5-2 just to wind Declan up there. Best of luck if you're getting involved. And next week, we will finally launch our Cheltenham Festival anti-post boost. So we'll be setting each other a few challenges throughout, see who comes out on top. But Dec, I know you're excited to get your thinking cap on for your anti-post boost. You did pretty well last year.
The portfolio.
The portfolio.
Oh, awful word.
That word, yeah. Yeah, sure, look, maybe people can let us know in the comments what horse they'd like boosted, and we can maybe, you know, make the people happy.
I think you'll get a lot of Constitution Hill in there, Dec, if I'm honest. Which we
come on, lads, come on, no.
Nicely set up there, Dec, almost. So you could just see Sam grimacing at that point. Yeah, really looking forward, though, to our anti-post bets getting underway. But more importantly, our best bets for this weekend, Dec.
Yeah, tough weekend. I think Sandown, we don't know what the ground's going to be like there, but I'm going to go to Sandown for the nap, hoping that my horse will handle the ground. To be fair, she does move like a horse who'll handle really bad ground, and she's got a pedigree that will handle really bad ground. It's going to be Springs a Girl in the 125 at Sandown for the Martin Keithley team. She's been given an official rating of 108 and then take a further £7 for Darren McConville's claim. Now, she did run behind the new line at Newbury, was it 2 starts back, and you know, I thought she was patently outclassed on kind of good to soft ground, but you know, she went there 3 out like a filly who you know didn't belong kind of a graded level, but she shaped a hell of a lot better than distance beaten. This is her handicap debut. The yard are in form, and I just thought if she switches off a little bit better, she could go well. I think she'll go through the ground. She is a strong traveller. Just hope she doesn't overdo things, but she'll do for me at a tasty price. And then the next bet, look, I think Il Atlantique is a sporting bet against Marlborough at the prices. I really do. Good jumper. You've got more experience, strengthened up a lot this year, comes from a top team. So at the prices, he will do for me. And then the long shot is going to be Sir Psycho, who runs in that a good race up at Musselburgh on Saturday for the Harry Derham and Paul O'Brien combination. Started the season okay at Newbury, but he was a lot better last time out at Foss Lass on ground. That would be far too soft for him over 2 miles, which is probably just a little bit too sharp for him now these days. Up to Musselburgh. Better ground, 2.5 miles, and the team are in good order. So yeah, I could see him easily running into the places. Probably needs 1 or 2 to underperform to win, but he will give them hell.
Won't you just? Yeah, I'm pleased that you mentioned Musselburgh, because they've got a really good card, haven't they? Basically, their version of Cheltenham Trials, their Scottish Festival kind of the whole thing.
Good prize money up there
as well. Yeah, really good prize money. So I'm pleased that you've acknowledged there. Sam, you going there for any of your bets?
I'm not, but it did give us nightmares a couple of years ago. Does anyone remember that treble that involved a couple of horses at Southall? No, one at Musselburgh, then one at Southall, and then we were into the bumper at Musselburgh. And honestly, they were going to take us out by the roots, and the bumper horse under Alan Crawley, I think, got unplaced and saved our bacon
no
a
need
little
to mention
bit.
the jockey. Poor Alan Crawley.
Well, it wasn't his
He's
fault,
an agent now, he's retired.
It wasn't his fault, in fairness. There was nothing he could have done. But yes, so that still gives me bad memories, Kate, if I'm honest. So we're not going to go to Musselburgh in my selections. We're going to kick off with my nap. And I think if there's ever a plot of plots, Meeting of the Waters, just the 36, 38 pounds between hurdle and chase mark. Somehow, it seems like about 20 horses have conspired to come out of this race. So Meeting of the Waters gets in under Rachel Blackmore, will be the market leader, but I'm going to have to make this horse my nap. You go back through, it's not run over hurdle since it was with the previous trainer, and that was a very fair 6th in a competitive handicap that I think shows will be absolutely fine with big fields. Obviously, better known for being a chaser, but very smart placement here and should give Willie Mullins one of many winners across the weekend, I imagine.
Yeah, exactly. Shouldn't he just? It would be fascinating to see. But as you say, in terms of the disparity then of the pounds, it's...
I mean, I don't know what the record is for the biggest disparity in marks between horses that have won over both codes. I'd love to see it. Anyway, that's a very nerdy idea of an interesting statistic. We'll move on to my next best, shall we? Willie Mullins, big weekend for him. And I thought in the juvenile, it's really interesting. Do you remember at the start of the season, that in August time, we were getting asked for quotes on Rich Ritchie owned horse, which runs here, but obviously Willie de Hoos just sort of fallen by the wayside, been very disappointing. But St Lucie, the filly here, is a really interesting runner and takes on Gavin Cromwell's horse, so the market's made quite nicely. I thought she did absolutely nothing wrong. I think it was New Year's Eve, her debut. She's learning plenty. She's definitely, like all these types, a case of going to progress again, I think, and I'd be quite excited. I thought the comments from Willie afterwards suggested that they really are looking forward to some big targets with her.
I think that's the same race that Pied Piper beat Vauban in a few years ago as well, so I think they used that race. I could be wrong, usually am.
I think you're right. So I'm looking forward to seeing her. And then it comes to my long shot, and I'm going to go back to that Nathaniel Lacey that we touched on with Mozzie's sister at 12-1 for Declan Queally. Declan's in good form. I think it's a brave move. It's a brave move putting her in here. But I think they should be rewarded with some place money at least. I just really like that form line behind Henry de Bromhead's horse. She's got to jump a bit better than she did that day, but she's capable. She's got experience, which counters what I think about the favourite that can possibly go and win it without that. But I thought as an each-way play, Mozzie's sister for me.
Yeah, the Nathaniel Lacey looks a good race to try and find a long shot in as well, given how open it should really be. An obvious hurdle over 2 miles 6 as well. So I'm also going there for my long shot. But before then, Django Bay, pretty unoriginal nap, but I'm so pleased that we agree on him anyway, where, yeah, he is the short enough price favourite, but he still should take all the beating, even at 4-5 in the Scilly Isles, and hopefully remain unbeaten over fences as well. Really impressive chasing debut at Cheltenham last time out. Had some smart horses in behind him as well. So I'm excited to see how he takes to the jumping tests of Sandown, and after he took really well to this discipline at first time up. Now, next best, I'm going to head to Musselburgh as well for the Scottish County Handicap Hurdle. Affodil runs in this after winning the race last year in good style under Freddie Gingell, who claimed 5 that day. He's riding him again, claiming just the £3 this time round, but that doesn't matter because he's running off a £4 lower than this race last year. So Paul Nicholls targeting this meeting so often, and I think that this lad has been primed to perfection to go back and defend his crown. And then my long shot is going to be the aforementioned Wingmen in at the Nathaniel Lacey at 25-1. Bit of a forgotten horse. Final Demand may well be good enough just to go and win this as he likes, despite a lack of experience. But in a race over this trip, I like experience. Wingman has plenty of that. 3 hurdle starts, travelling to England, facing Grade 1 company last time out. Horse that beat him, the Yellow Clay in that latest start. Really good horse, so not much disgrace, and I just thought he could outrun his price. So there you go. We've got a few different options. We're going across different meetings as well. So
all bases covered.
Yeah, a whole blend of action. But that is everything from us, so lads. Thank you so much for your hard work as per usual. A big thank you to you for watching. Best of luck with your bets this weekend, and we'll be back at the same time next Friday to preview Super Saturday at Newbury.